You guys should be in awe of me right now. I mean, you should have already been in awe of me for a while, but if you weren't, this video is definitely the decider. Because the amount of restraint, the amount of level-headedness and clear-headedness it took me from staying away from the clickbait for this video is worthy of praise. The clickbait title, the clickbait thumbnail, and then just regurgitate a Wowhead article into a 10-minute video format and push it out for views is what your stock standard YouTuber would have done. This type of content has a very low barrier of entry. The amount of people in the community interested in this is obviously very, very high, as opposed to, say, a technical review of Balanced Druid or a technical review of Unholy Decay that I have just done. Before this, this content, free loot before an expansion, is always very easy to rack up views with, and instead I'm going to take the high road. I'm going to be the better man. Oh, Blizzard opens pre-orders for face masks. How can I make a 10-minute video about this? Wow, Shadowlands leatherworking armor kits nerfed. Time to make a 10-minute video. No, not here. Here we do something different. Yes, we want to put critical thinking and personal opinions to our videos, our thoughts, and not just regurgitate what someone else said. So, gearing up. Why is it important? And who does this? There are three types of players who want to do this. The first type is the new player. He's just new, doesn't know much, is not really experienced, and just wants to get better gear before the expansion launches. You have the second type, which is the returning player. He is already accustomed with the game. A lot of them are going to be accustomed with the expansion. They stop playing in BOD, maybe in Eternal Palace, and now they just want to get gear for the expansion. And then we have the last type. No. Don't look away. I'm talking to you. Don't you dare. This is the type that had 6 months in this tier to start thinking about this, postponed this moment for weeks and weeks, until they finally decided they wanted to play a completely new class, a completely new spec. It wasn't even max level. They had to rush it to max level, and now they are rushing to gear it up again. Yes, you know who you are, and you should be ashamed. You had so much time, you had no need to rush it this way. Shame on you. So, these are the players who want to get gear. How do you get gear? And also why, honestly. The why is a very nice element to RPG games. If you think about it, guys, the leveling system is going to take you somewhere around 8 hours. Not only that, but you will start replacing your gear around level 56 if you're not even a mythic geared character in BFA. If your item level is lower than 120-ish, even 115, you will start replacing gear not even at max level. So if you are a freshly boosted character who's gonna have to scrap through Bentic, world quests, emissaries, warfronts and whatnot, most of that is not even going to be replaced at max level, but halfway through the leveling system. So why spend 10, 20, 30 hours in BFA for a system in Shadowlands that will have you replace that gear in like 4 hours? Well, the answer really is just RPG. It's your character is weak, you want to make it stronger. It's the call of an RPG game. It's just what you want to do. Even if it's going to be for something as short as the leveling system, which is what I love about RPGs. And talking about the leveling system, it is going to be pretty tough, because the harder hitting and higher HP mobs of Shadowlands, coupled with the item level squish and the level squish, are going to make leveling, a bit of a slog if you are undergeared, if you're very undergeared. The type of undergearedness that makes you have to use cooldowns if you pull 2 mobs at the same time, that makes your pet die if you're a hunter or a warlock and you pull 2 mobs when you're undergeared. If you want to have a clear cutoff to reach, to know you're safe, to know you're gonna have an easier leveling phase, is going to be around item level 100. Is when you can be relaxed about the release of the expansion. If you are below that, so if you get your character boosted, or if you just hit max level normally and you are around item level 60 to 70, that's where you want to start pushing up in item level until you reach 100. So how do you do this? The how-to is where this video is going to differ from your run-of-the-mill regurgitated Wowhead guide video. Because Wowhead, or Icy Veins, for all the good they give us, they are objective, they are neutral, they are simply reporting the different ways you have to gear up. They don't put an author's note on how fucking useless the Black Emperor sets are. They don't put an author's note for newbies telling them, please don't waste your time doing visions. A new player is going to listen to one of those low effort clickbaity YouTubers telling them, oh, and you can do visions and assaults and farm rares for Emperor set pieces. And they are actually going to do it. And it is fucking terrible. So that's where we're going to differ. And the how. How to get gear. Number 1. time walking is out. The next time walking week is going to be on the 2nd of December, so you have no way to farm time walking dungeons. Number 2, easy and quick way to get gear is going to be Heroic Warfront. Depending on where you're playing from, Warfront is going to be up this week, next week, and you can do your Heroic for 115 item level piece. Yes, your gear is awful, but if you don't get invited, the age-old suggestion is still alive, just make your own group. Nobody cares about item levels in Warfront, so you can just find a group easily. And lastly, what's active right now is the dungeon event for the week. So you can get your Emissary of War weekly to complete 4 mythic dungeons and get another free piece of 115 item level loot. So that's enough for the quick and easy tips to go before we go into more detail. If you are a returning player who played at least through Eternal Palace, you can get mana pearls to get Bentic, item level 66. All your gear except for rings, trinkets and weapons. After you've done this, the best suggestion, literally the best suggestion, which would make every one of these videos 3 minutes long, is Heroic Dungeons, which give item level 78, into Mythic 0 Dungeons, which give item level 82, get a Keystone for Mythic Plus, and then enter Mythic Plus, and spam Mythic Plus until the release of Shadowlands. This would be the video about how to gear up for Shadowlands, if people were honest. Instead, they will list a bunch of other things, useless things, just to drag the video on. I will list them only to tell you how bad they are, and how you should not do them. So as you level up to max level, or as you get your boosted character logged in, you will get the first part of the quest chain, which is going to be to unlock your Heartforge and make your necklace level 50. Your necklace, if you are boosted, is already level 50. The reason why you are doing this part of the quest chain is so that you can unlock the start of the 8.3 quest chain. After you complete this quest chain, you will get Return of the Black Prince in your quest log, which will start this entire quest chain. Everything you read here is mostly useless with the exception of the Legendary Cloak. Legendary Cloak is 125 item level, which is very big. This is going to be up to you. To get to that quest, 21 to 22 quests in is going to take you a few hours. You will unlock the 2 assaults along the way, so it's up to you to decide how much time you want to spend to get this. I would say this is still somewhat worth. The quest chain in Najatar I did with my own shitty character, just to see how long it took, was less than 20 minutes. And the entire quest for the Legendary Cloak was less than 3 hours. But I've done this like 6 times already, so I was already accustomed with it. The reason why I'm mentioning how pointless these activities can be and how much of a waste of time they can be compared to just spamming Mythic Plus is because world quests scale from item level 60 to item level 81. They will become obsolete very, very quickly. The Emissary for the world quest is going to scale all the way up to item level 100. The assaults that you can unlock doing the quest chain can go from item level 60 all the way up to item level 100, because the assaults happen every 3 days. So you have much less chances of getting loot, meaning they scale all the way up to the same item level of the emissaries. If you want to do assaults and you are in the zone, there is the option to just farm all the rares. Download Handy Notes add-on and just find all the rares. Whenever a new assault is up, the rares are going to be up, their loot table is going to refresh, and you have a chance to get a Black Empire set, item level 78. This is also going to be outdated pretty soon, and also you don't even have a guarantee that it will be useful because they have a random armor type drop chance. You could be a warrior and get nothing but cloth Black Emperor set pieces. And lastly, visions. Not only do you have to complete even more quests of your quest chain after the Legendary Cloak to unlock visions, but visions will scale from item level 80 all the way to 125. However, you are in no position to actually get there. You have less than 3 resets to get there, and you have no technology researched in your research tree of the visions. You have no corruption resistance, and you have terrible gear, meaning your vision rewards are going to be terrible for way too much effort. So if you want my advice, and you do want my advice, is completely ignore visions, completely ignore Black Emperor set pieces. Don't go actively hunting for rares just because they can drop this piece of shit. Ignore almost entirely the world quests and only care about the emissary, about the assault caches, and then just do dungeons. My ideal progression is this: get to max level, start the quest chain to go into Najatar, get the quest from Magni to go into the Earthforge and level up your necklace to level 50, start the 8.3 quest chain because you have completed the Najatar quest chain, and then jump into dungeons. Farm Heroic until you get to item level 78, get a Mythic 0 dungeon done to get a keystone, and then start doing Mythic Plus. In and every other Mythic Plus, you can just slowly progress for your 8.3 quest chain until you can get your Legendary Cloak. You know, every time you have maybe half an hour left and you don't want to do a Mythic Plus key, maybe you can fit in a couple of quests. It's 15 minutes before dinner, go and complete an extra piece of the quest, and over time you will finish the quest chain for the Legendary Cloak. But for the rest of your time, you just want to spam Mythic Plus dungeons. And really, I can't overstate enough how important it's going to be for you to do Mythic Plus. Not just because of the gear, not just because of the gearing up process, but because it's the best way for you to get in touch with the spec. You know, if you start with the assumption that you're a new player, you're coming back, you are re-rolling, you're playing a class, a spec you've never played, you have not played in an expansion, in 2 expansions, in 3 expansions, you know nothing about it. You don't know the rotation, the key bindings, all the setups, and you know the tips and the tricks of the spec. The best way for you to learn is to do Mythic Plus over and over. You know, doing a bunch of quests and world quests and story quests, right? Talking to a guy, do some RP, get a cutscene, then fly over here, kill 8 mobs, fly over there, turn in the quest, get another quest. That's not gonna make you learn a lot about the spec. Instead, if you do Mythic Plus, you're gonna get used to the spec. You're gonna get the muscle memory on your keyboard going. You will stop looking at the fucking action bars whenever you want to click something because you will know them by heart. That's the good way of learning your spec in preparation for Shadowlands. So that's also why Mythic Plus is even more of the right choice for gearing up, because of this element as well. You want to reach, this is the new item level scaling of Mythic Plus, you want to reach Mythic Plus 5. You don't even need to go higher than that. Just endlessly farm Mythic Plus 5 until you can get all of your gear to item level 100. That's the cutoff for a rather easy and relaxed leveling experience. I leveled 4 times in the beta, and I also have another 3 or 4 characters midway through it. I did it with my main, which is item level 135. I did it with a couple of my alts, which were 120 and 110. And then I did it with 2 brand new boosted shitty characters at item level 70. It becomes noticeably easier and you don't feel like your gear is dragging you down as soon as you get past item level 100. So that's where you want to be. You know, farming Black Emperor sets for item level 78, farming world quests for item level 60 to 81, trying to do visions, struggling to even get an 85 or a 90 item level piece is useless when you can do just dungeons. Dungeons are also very good because remember, we start from the assumption that you're a new player, a returning player, or you do not have a group to boost you in any way. So all this solo content like the assaults, the world quests, the visions can just be even harder for you when you could simply get your key, list a Mythic Plus dungeon and just invite people 30 item levels above you and let yourself be carried. The only suggestion I would give is that emissaries and assaults caches are going to scale based on the gear you have up to item level 100. So what you want to do is save them until you have gotten to the max possible item level. If you log in today and there is an emissary for a piece of gear that expires in 3 days, wait until 5 minutes before the emissary expires and try to get as high of an item level as you can to get as high of an item level as possible from that cache. Same goes for the assaults. So spam a bunch of dungeons, spam a bunch of Mythic Plus, and then come back to the emissaries and the assaults when your item level is bumped up 15, 20, 25 to get a better reward. Now, for the people with crippling social anxiety, people who have a harder time doing dungeons, people who have a harder time doing grouped content, and even more so now that they know they are playing a character with very low gear, they know they will be a drag and people will look at them and laugh at them and they don't want to do dungeons, then if you don't want to do dungeons, then specifically for you, Blizzard is going to come and help you with the Scourge Invasion, finally coming out after weeks of being delayed. Very long story short, cutting through all the bullshit, irrelevant stuff, Icecrown is going to be populated by Wrath of the Lich King bosses as world bosses, and these world bosses will continue spawning throughout the couple of weeks before the release, and they will drop level 100 loot. This is the equivalent of the max item level of your emissaries, the max item level of the assault caches, as well as a Mythic Plus 5 key. Now these work and function as rares, which means you kill them once, you have to wait for reset to have a chance at loot again. And there is over 20 different world bosses, so gearing up through this system is going to be very, very time consuming. You have to be in the zone, be active and actually hunt for the world boss itself. And the more loot you have, the harder it's going to be, because eventually you will need only a chest, a pair of bracers, a pair of pants, 1 ring and 1 helmet, and there is only going to be 5 world bosses dropping that, and you have to actually wait for them to spawn out of a pool of 25, and then they have to drop that for you. So it is very time consuming, but if you're going solo, it is still by far the best way. Ignore things like world quests, things like Black Empire caches and all of that, and just sit in Ice Crown and farm this. If you were planning on doing Mythic Plus anyways, then continue farming Mythic Plus anyways. This is going to be a good extra for you. As I mentioned with the legendary questline, when you have 15 to 20 minutes, not enough to do a Mythic Plus, and you want to do a couple of quests for your cloak, then you can also hop in Ice Crown and kill a couple of world bosses to see if you get some loot. And that's about it. I would also suggest in and around item level 90 or so to try to sneak in some normal Nyalota raids. Normal also dropping item level 100. Maybe you can even find some free charity heroic raid runs that you can get into. That's going to be also very good. You can also spend your war resources or your gold to buy some coins and then do the world bosses. You have 3 resets to kill world bosses, and 3 times you can use your extra coin, your extra roll, try to get something from world bosses, which is also going to be a nice chance of getting some loot. And then you're set. As soon as you get to 100, you can push past 100 if you want to, but know that 100 should be your cutoff, should be your goal to gearing up for Shadowlands. And this is all, really. This is my suggestion for you. My opinion piece on how to gear up for Shadowlands. Focus extremely heavily on Mythic Plus. Save your emissary and assault caches for as long as possible to scale up your item level as long as possible, and try to ignore visions, Black Emperor set pieces, world quests, and excessive wastes of times in your quest chains that you don't really need to do. Decide yourself if you want to do all the quest chains for your legendary cloak. That entire quest chain is going to be like 5 hours for a guaranteed 125 item level piece in your cloak slot. Can you get better gear by spamming 5 hours worth of Mythic Plus? You decide, depending on how much time you have. And with this recap, we are done. Interrupting the scheduled release of my previous videos, I snuck a new video in on Sunday because I thought about this very recently. Let me know what you guys think. What ways have you used to gear up? What ways are you planning to use to gear up? And also tell me if you are that guy, if you are the guy number 3. So see you guys soon, and in the meantime, I'm off gearing up in Mythic Plus.